Dozens of foster children who dream about going to college line the halls of Texas A&M University-Corpus Christi to get a glimpse of what their future could look like. The teens went through an orientation and got a university tour to educate them about the Island Harbor program.
The program not only ensures foster children receive free tuition, but free housing and a meal plan as well. Coordinators say many foster children want to go to college. They just sometimes don't because there are just so many more obstacles in their way.
Approximately 80% of children in foster care state that they would like to go to college, but what we know from research is that approximately 1.5% actually finish a bachelor's degree.
An additional resource the university will provide is a support group called Islander Navigation for all the students in foster care.